Yep, it looks like we're recording now, so go ahead.
All right, welcome everyone to another panel discussion with the LAHC. Today we're talking about mindfulness, right? That's really important. Everyone wants to be mindful as much as they can. We have Rosanna and I's bios over here for you guys to take a look at really quick. Rosanna, you want to read a little from your bio? Or? Oh, I'm sorry, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So I'm a community health educator with the LAHC. I have my master's degree from U of M with a focus on special education, and healthy living is just one of my passions. And so we're here today with another panel discussion centered around healthy living. And today we'll be discussing healthy mindful practices. Thank you, Mohammed.
No problem. Go ahead. You can, next slide.
Sure.
All right. So this session is being recorded. This is just general information. It's not intended to diagnose or treat any medical condition that you might have. Please always consult your primary care professional before, for your personalized medical advice, right? The views expressed here are those of the individual panelists and do not represent the LAHC.
And so
a little bit about us. The LAHC, we're an organization dedicated to providing quality programs and projects and through the economic downturn. We have remained steadfast and accomplished our goals and fulfilling our vision to further our initiatives and increase our activities to meet the needs of the communities we serve. So basically, our mission is to empower communities one family at a time throughout Southeast Mercy.
So we provide team panelist discussions, we provide workout opportunities, we do food demonstrations in schools, and we really just are out there in the community helping people live more fulfilled, enriched lives, and just empowering them through education so that they can be empowered and live the healthiest lives as possible. So we're here today. Here's a little agenda. We are going to meet the panelists, and then we're going to have a panelist discussion centered around healthy mindful practices. And then finally, we will have a question and answer from the audience, and we'll open the floor to the audience to ask the panelists any questions that they may have. So our first panelist is Jason Christoff. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason. It is an honor to have you here with us today. He is a Czech Holistic Institute graduate, a self-sabotage coach, a health and nutrition coach. He also owns a physical fitness club. He's based out of Cornwall, Canada. His club is called Physical Limits Fitness. And he's here with us, so I'll let you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I started in fitness about 25 years ago, and to make a long story short, I wasn't that healthy. Even though I looked healthy, I was very sick and had a lot of unhealthy habits and a lot of unhealthy programming. And by the time I was 29, I was literally almost dead. I couldn't walk. I had a very bad pain in my left leg, and it was inhibiting, my ability to walk. So I contacted someone at the Czech Institute in Vista, California. They helped me rehab, and it was more a rehab of my ideas and my beliefs and my customs and my rituals. And I sort of got into the psychology of health at that time. And then eventually I became a self-sabotage coach, only because when I used to try and help people get better with diet and exercise, there was some sort of invisible glass ceiling where they couldn't break through into their best selves. So I started to investigate the psychology of what kept people sort of underachieving and mediocre. And when I found out these secrets, I started to intertwine them into my training technique, and the results dwarfed anything I ever did with their diet or their exercise. So I quit being an exercise and diet coach and just started using psychology. And I opened up a school to teach people how to do this across the world. I have a school to teach self-sabotage coaches how to handle people in the format that I designed myself.
And you have a workshop coming up soon. Maybe we can share the link at the end. If anybody's interested in joining that, that would be great. Thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you.
Next, we have Nancy Jafer. Mohammed, did you want to go ahead and introduce?
Yeah, sure. Welcome, Nancy. So Nancy is a psychologist, a certified hypnotherapist. Wow, that's really cool. And a NLP/NET practitioner, right? And she's a life coach. So welcome, Nancy. I know you are based here in Dearborn, Michigan. If you could please share a little bit about yourself, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you guys for having me. So my history is that I graduated with a master's in psychology. I knew that I wanted to continue on beyond that, but I needed something to do in the meantime, and I ended up specializing as a school and community psychologist, which means I worked with the children that had special needs, developing the IEPs for them. Did that for about 11 years. And I think that the main struggle I had when I did that was this internal battle within myself of feeling like it was sort of inappropriate to label these kids, especially at such young ages. And this was well before I knew anything about what the subconscious mind was. But I would look at this child and they would say, well, he's ADD. And I was always the one fighting and saying, well, does he eat right? Did he sleep well? What's going on at home? What are the stressors? And I felt like this whole labeling idea wasn't done in good conscience a lot of times, because it was just a default. And I also can see that when they were labeled, children would start to manifest a lot of these behaviors, and it almost seemed like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so I struggled a lot with administration, a lot of the professionals I worked with in the school setting, because I was what they thought combative, but in reality, I just felt like I was advocating and saying there's more to this than meets the eye. And so with that, I went through my own internal struggle of not feeling like it's a fit for me. And I had almost gotten to the point where I was just not wanting to get up and go to work every day. And then I checked myself and I said, I need to find some gratitude for what I do. I am still helping people, not in the way that I want to, but still helping parents nonetheless and students nonetheless. And the moment I checked myself and I found gratitude for having a job, I came across somebody who had tried hypnotherapy, and I was in a conversation with them, and I had noticed a big difference in their personality, and I couldn't understand how it was so extreme in such a short period of time. And that's when they said I tried hypnotherapy, and I was completely intrigued. And so started my whole journey in that, a rabbit hole of what subconscious mind is and how it works, and all of my other trainings there from there on. And within 6 months of my training, I left the schools. I worked both jobs for 1 year. I'd leave the schools, come home, run a practice with very minimal clients. But I just knew that this was where I was meant to be. And so 11-year career, I turned in my letter of resignation. And 8 years later, I have a thriving practice now, where we're offering multiple modalities. I'm actually in a training right now to become a natural doctor, studying integrative medicine and expanding my scope of practice for my clients. So it's been an incredible journey.
Very nice. Welcome. Welcome.
I'm very impressed.
Well, thank
Yes.
you. I'm impressed by you too.
I love it. And if anybody's out there and can visit Nancy, I know the power of hypnotherapy to change our behaviors, and I would totally encourage anybody who's in the area to, partake in that service.
Thank you.
Definitely. And that brings us back to what you were saying, how you were training people in health and nutrition and not seeing, as many results as when you went to the self-sabotage coaching, which is very interesting because, many people, right? They try to eat healthy, get in the gym, eat healthy, get in the gym, but then they don't see results. So
yeah,
very interesting.
Yeah, they don't see results for a very particular reason, but yeah, this is very common.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first question is for you, Jason, and it is, what is self-sabotage, and how is health and self-sabotage linked? How can we overcome self-sabotage and break the negative patterns that we might find ourselves in?
Wow, that's like 3 big questions. Well, self-sabotage is a natural sort of result because we have the way our subconscious mind is designed. It's designed to sort of scan our environment and mimic what it sees. So what can look like self-sabotage? You know, you can look out into your environment, and if you see or you experience an environment, let's say, where everybody in your family might be 220 pounds, the subconscious mind sort of steps up and leans into you and says, you know, I've analyzed the environment, and from what I see, the sort of safe behavior to take on is being a little heavier. And so the subconscious mind as well can modify the metabolism to even make weight loss very, very difficult. I mean, the subconscious mind has a lot of control over the metabolism, and the subconscious is there to sort of protect you. Its main job is so that you fit in and say the right thing and think the right thing and wear the right clothes. That's why it's always scanning the environment. So self-sabotage is sort of based on scanning of an environment and getting back stimuli that says it's not safe to be your best. It's not safe to be healthy. It's not safe to be thin. And the only way to sort of change that, like Nancy will tell you, is to give the subconscious mind different stimuli to give it the okay, that it's okay to be wealthy. It's okay to be healthy. It's okay to be happy. And so what looks like self-sabotage can just be a natural, it's just the body functioning as it's designed, because the subconscious is there to look into the environment and make sure you do exactly what the majority is doing, that you go along to get along, you mirror and emulate your environment. So if you're self-sabotaging, it means that you're emulating an environment that has a very mediocre level. And it can inhibit you. The subconscious won't let you exceed the achievement level of the environment which you live in. So contrary to what most people believe, we're not really in control of our behavior. The environment is. And I don't know if that really answered the question. I hope it did.
Yes, that tribal mentality, like we are part of the tribe and we want to fit in.
And if you don't fit in, I mean, 25,000 years ago, if you said something different than the tribe or wore something different than what everybody accepted that was the normal thing to wear, your life was in jeopardy. And this is why the subconscious and its ability to mimic what it sees out in the environment, that's why it comes as standard equipment in the human body, so that you don't stand out, because standing out could be the equivalent of a very early and painful death. So it's a natural function, but if you don't know how it works, it can steer you in the wrong direction, especially if you live in a mediocre and underachieving environment.
Thank you. That makes perfect sense. And then Nancy, if you wanted to chime in, the third question is, how can we overcome self-sabotage and break the negative patterns we may find ourselves in?
Well, I love hearing how other people explain the subconscious. It's, you know, because I'm so used to my own explanations of things. So I'm learning as I'm listening to Jason as well. But I think that is it okay if I sort of explain how I understand the subconscious programs? Do we have a moment for that?
Sure, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why you're here.
Yeah. So basically what happens is we are running 95% subconscious and 5% conscious. And the conscious is the part that has the will to decide what we want to do, what we like, what we don't like. The subconscious is where you blink, breathe, walk, talk, chew. Every automatic program you run comes from the subconscious mind. I like to explain it as like the software that you downloaded as a child, the programs in the back of the mind. And so what happens is in those first 7 years of life, God, universe, biology, whatever you want to call it, puts us in a brainwave called theta. And in the brainwave of theta, which is alpha, beta, theta. Delta is sleep. Theta is right before that. And it's like the inventive brainwave. It's when people say children are sponges, it's because theta brainwave is an open brainwave, right? That's where the brain makes changes. And so in theta, we're meant to be in that open space to learn all the millions of bits of information we need to be functional adults. And so there's no conscious filtration system. The conscious is not saying, I like this, don't download this. It's just downloading everything so that we can be functional and learn what we need to learn to survive. And so in that first 7 years of life, you're not only downloading the apps for beliefs and personality, or I'm sorry, for walking, talking, and blinking and chewing, you're also downloading apps for your beliefs, your personality, and your characteristics. So in kind of to piggyback on what Jason was saying, in that first 7 years of life, you're receiving and cultivating your identity, your personality, your standards, your expectations based on your environment. You have no conscious will of who you would like to be because consciousness didn't kick in until after the age of 7. So if you're in a mediocre environment, like you say, or if you're in a place where eating this way is normal, or if you grow up believing you're the fat one of the family, you stay with that identity, even if the other people in the family aren't overweight. If you are compared to them a little more overweight and you identify as the fatter one, you take that program with you, and that will dictate your neurology, your physiology for the rest of your life. So it's the programming from the subconscious mind does everything. It runs your whole nervous system, cells of your body, everything. So, I mean, that, I don't know if that adds to it, but I agree with what Jason was saying.
I think it's a great explanation.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was actually, I mean, that was great the way you explained it. That, very, very nice. We'll move on to question 2, which is, how can we improve the state of our subconscious mind? So, like as you were saying, Nancy, like let's say you're the fat one in the family. How would you like improve that to get like out of that stigma that you're the big one in the family?
Yeah. So, I always tease about when I do these interviews and they ask me, what should you do? I feel like I just want to say, do hypnotherapy and then just end the interview right there. Because, I mean, that's just like the easiest way. It's like the cheat sheet for life. But if you want to look at it from a perspective of entering into a meditative state, some people are able to get into those states with multiple mechanisms. But what you need to do first and foremost is identify that you're running those patterns. People are on autopilot. They respond the same way every day, all day, without thought, which is why the whole concept of mindfulness came in. It's just to recognize, okay, let me stop running on autopilot, because that's going to keep me doing the same things over and over again, because that's our default. If 95% of the day you're on subconscious, you're going to do the same thing. So first and foremost, identify. What's my belief system? Do I believe I'm destined to be fat? Do I believe I'm not smart enough to go to college? Look at my environment. What kinds of things was I exposed to? And when you at least recognize the pattern exists, and then you can start to work on breaking the pattern. It takes a lot of willful effort to change neurology on a conscious level, but with practice you can do it, or you can do hypnotherapy and do it fast. But that's what I would say first and foremost, is to just recognize what your automatic programs are. And then that acknowledgement is really empowering in and of itself.
Roseanne, I think you're on mute.
Oh, no, you want me to answer that too? What's the best thing to do?
Please, Jason. Yeah, please.
Yeah, for my clients, what I tell them, I mean, your subconscious is always scanning the environment and sort of driving toward the middle, driving toward the average, and going along to get along. If you are, living in our society, it's a very low level of achievement. And I tell people, you have to understand that your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real life and, say, a screen. And it will always think, it's always assessing on 24-hour increments too, like what tribe am I in? So if you're watching, say, a media show or a movie, and the subconscious will think you're there, and it thinks this is the tribe we live in. If you're watching a show like Shameless or a movie like Dirty Grandpa or Bad Moms, another movie, your subconscious will be getting this environmental stimuli that this is the sort of behavior that's accepted by the tribe. So I tell people it's really key to, put the proper environmental stimuli throughout your house, in through your auditory centers, in through your retinal nerve. Shut the TV off, stop taking in the negative role modeling, and of course, make sure you decorate your environment at your home or your bathroom, your shower, your kitchen, your fridge, and make sure you have positive reinforcement regarding the goals that you want. Also tell people, be very careful of what you eat, because if you eat sort of toxic food, it activates the limbic system, which is the fight or flight system. And the fight or flight system registers in the metabolism as you being injured. So picture a injured wolf that just had a fight with another animal. When it's injured, it needs the tribe. It's clingy to the old ways. It's clingy to the old patterns in the brain. So as soon as you have toxic food and toxify your system, you become very clingy and emotionally attached to the old tribe that may be the ones influencing your self-sabotage behavior. So shut the media off, decorate your environment properly, and clean up your diet. I tell people, you want to have a good book to help you clean up your diet, use Paul Chek. It's C-H-E-K. He's the owner of the Chek Institute where I went to school. The name of the book is How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. And that's a great place to start.
Thank you. I am putting the name of that in the chat. If anybody's interested in ordering the book, the name of the book is in the chat. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Great information. And so I know Nancy was speaking about how when we're children, we are like sponges and we download all of this information. And I wanted to ask a question to you, Nancy, is how do our childhood experiences impact our current adult behaviors?
So, it doesn't really necessarily have to be an overt trauma. A lot of people will, even when they come to see me, they'll say, well, am I going to uncover some major trauma? One of the things I like to say is that when you're in a state of, let's say, hypnosis, and you are trying to rewire something from childhood, your subconscious mind will take you to the first time you felt the emotion, not the worst time you felt the emotion. Because as children, what's the most shocking for us is the first time we feel something. Scared, insecure, embarrassed, ashamed, stupid. And so you can have multiple traumatic events after that, but when does it actually initially download is the first time you feel it, because the first time is the worst time as a child. And so that environment that you're in is when you're downloading those experiences. Now, a lot of parents feel afraid when they listen to this, and their first reaction, I have moms and dads that cry to me and say, what have I done with my children when I tell them about this? But one of the things I think is important for us to know is that it has to feel unsafe. And so a parent who is loving generally, a parent who is nurturing generally and has a bad day and maybe snaps a little bit on their child didn't ruin them or traumatize their subconscious mind, because the energy between the parent and the child is a safe energy. And so there's an established comfort and safety in that dynamic. It'll happen in situations where there is no safety. And it's going to happen in your first day of school. It's going to happen when your teacher says something inadvertently that you misinterpreted. So our childhood is our whole personality. Our subconscious cultivates who we are in the first 7 years of life, and we run on that program and that pattern for the rest of our lives, thinking that we are willfully deciding who we want to be. And this is the most important key that I want people to understand, that everybody says, well, I'm this and I'm that, but this is what you're consciously saying you are. All that matters is what programs you're running in the background. And if they support who you want to be consciously, then you're golden. But if they don't, then you're in this vicious cycle of just, I want to be better, I want to be better, I want to be better, but I can't help it. And people don't know what that piece is holding them back. And so understanding the subconscious mind in these programs is key for any kind of self-development or self-improvement. And then researching and understanding different ways to improve that. And I love what you said too, because Jason is saying change your whole environment, right? He's saying create a scenario where everything you see around you is encouraging your goals. And you have to understand that that has to be done exponentially because we're inundated otherwise by all the negative stuff. So you're going to have to do that tenfold to make up for the unconscious subliminal stuff you're getting in your car while you're driving, on the billboards. You know, it's all over. And so, yes, it's important for us to recognize the power of subconscious in early childhood, and then also the subliminal messages that are around us as adults, so that we can learn how to combat both of those and truly be in charge of our own destiny.
Yeah, I just like to add with my clients too. I tell them, you know, don't water it down. Like if one of my clients were going to Nancy, I would say, enough. You can't do the TV when you do Nancy at the same time, and it's just going to water it down. It's not going to work as effectively because she'll try to do the reprogramming, and then the TV's going to do its programming. And if you go to the TV, you know, it's a very powerful signal to the subconscious mind to play small and to hide in mediocrity. It's just safer there because the tribe coming out of the TV is very underachieving.
Yeah. And even now, what's even more dangerous is being inundated with the social media news feeds, which I think is even more getting into our subliminal, our subconscious mind subliminally. I mean, how many times have we just scrolled mindlessly and not even paid attention and think we're not on our phones, but in reality, your unconscious is downloading every one of those posts and those pictures. I mean, it's always working. It's always active. It's always aware. Especially when you're in a state of trance, which we go into trance when we're on our phones and on social media or searching the net.
Yeah, we're very close to the theta, well, at the beginning of the theta state, right, Nancy?
Yeah.
Yes, for social media, that's a big one. You know, that's one that, you know, everyone should kind of steer away or even, you know, get rid of, in my opinion. But our next question, it was actually, I want to start off with Jason, if you don't mind. You mentioned, you know, kind of your environment and like your room, changing your room, making it more like, you know, relaxing. Any tips or tricks you have for that? Like, what do you mean by that for those who are watching?
Well, when you set up your environment, you know, say around your goals, I do a lot of wealth, you know, I want people to stop self-sabotaging with their wealth. If people think health-based self-sabotage is the number one, it's definitely wealth. So say someone wanted to become okay and get rid of those phrases, money's the root of all evil. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You know, all those ones designed to make us struggle in life. So say if someone was trying to be more abundant and then convince their subconscious mind that they made like a tribal migration to a wealthier tribe, you literally have, if you go in the car, you can't put the radio on because it's 24-hour mediocrity. You got to put on some people that motivate you, talking about wealth, talking about how to make it, talking about why it's not dirty or evil or ugly to be a wealthy person that has abundance. You have to decorate your office in appropriate ways that gives your subconscious mind the stimuli that, you know, put the picture of your car that you want, put the picture. I mean, I don't want to rehash The Secret, but the way The Secret works is it's trying to hack the subconscious mind to trick it that it's in a different village where it's okay to be awesome, because the environment we live in our society tells us it's not okay to be amazing. And our subconscious takes in so much stimuli. Like the only guy that gets adorned in the newspaper, on the radio, is someone that's fallen down and hurt themselves, or someone who's downtrodden. And then the rich guy is the bad guy. I mean, just look at Titanic. How did they represent the rich man who was going to marry Rose? I mean, he was the jerk, right? And that goes a long way to teach us that struggling and sort of dragging ourselves on along the bottom in life is the safe card to play. So we have to take advantage of how the subconscious mind works and decorate our environment even our audio centers in the car with the messages that give us the okay to be amazing. I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. No, as far as music, or you said audio, any types that you recommend, or just
I
it's
like
personal?
I like podcasts that tell people, like I like Paul Chek's 4D podcast. I like Brian Rose, London Real, and it should be more like like it depends what you want. If you want to be healthy, listen to Paul Chek. If you want to be wealthy, go through London Real's podcast and get some of the business gurus. If you want to be happy, try to stay on a positive line too. Maybe not listen to David Icke.
Hey,
I'm putting recommendations in the
you know,
chat.
just to piggyback on that, what you can also do, and I find that my clients find this helpful, is you can actually record your own affirmations, you know, and repeat them on a recording, and you can actually play them as you're falling asleep at night, because what happens is every night when we fall asleep, we pass through all the brain waves. And you're in theta for me, I'm in theta for a little while because I like to relish in that time. But we all pass through theta on our way to delta. And so the best time to listen to affirmations or to a meditative audio is while you're falling asleep, because it's downloading as you're falling asleep, and it's actually continuously playing in your mind as you sleep, which is the same thing as when you watch a terrible movie or something stressful or the news before you go to bed. You're literally downloading that energy into your nervous system as you sleep as well. So use that tool to your advantage. And so your goals, I mean, just say them in the present tense. So I am wealthy. I am, you know, whatever it is that you want to be, healthy, and you can be specific, saying them in the present tense, and then reading them over and over again on an audio, even with some delta waves in the background, and then fall asleep to those affirmations as well. That might be a good tool for you, for people.
Yeah, I use the affirmations myself. I mean, last interview I gave, I passed out on camera. So I was a little nervous and I give hundreds of these a year, but I passed out last time I was doing the interview. It was only like 4 days ago. So I had to hack my own subconscious brain with affirmations just to get back on this call.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
It worked pretty good.
For sure. Positive words of affirmation, a vision board. I created a vision board before, and that really helped, because you can have all the different categories, you know, just on one vision board. And very good tips. So thank you for sharing those. So the next question is related to emotional well-being, and how does our emotional well-being impact our overall health? How does it impact our eating habits? And how can we support our emotional well-being?
Do you want to go first, Nancy?
Nancy.
Sure. So coming from a quantum physics understanding of things, which I don't want to get too deep into right now, but the idea is that we are energy. And so if my whole being is energetic and it's a frequency, then my emotional state doesn't just impact my health, it dictates my health. So that's really critical for people to understand that. And I'm sure you've all heard the idea that stress, you know, kills, and stress causes your immune system to break down. And bear with me if you've heard this before, but essentially what happens in a state of fight or flight, you only have two states in you. You have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, right? And so what happens is in those two states, you're either on or off. And one is fight or flight, one is rest and repair. And people in our modern day world have their fight or flight kick in situations that are no longer requiring a survival mechanism. When we lived in the animal kingdom and we were chased by saber-toothed tigers, we needed to fight or flight. So what happens, our biology sends the information, the blood flow to our extremities to fight or flight, taking it away from our mind, our heart, our lungs. So blood flow is compromised, immune system is compromised in that state. You don't have to be in a full-blown commercial version of a panic attack to have that happen. It could be a thought that can trigger that sympathetic system to activate. It's a perceived threat and a perceived danger that shifts you into that state. And so it's really, really important for people to understand that that is the number one thing related to health, because when you're in that parasympathetic state, you're allowing biology to do its natural thing. All of the things that we're born with, these miraculous abilities to heal ourselves. So it dictates health according to how I understand it.
Yeah, with your emotions, and it's the same sort of talk, just in a different category. But let's pretend there was a child grew up in a chaotic and chaos-filled environment, and that becomes sort of their tribe, or it's like their family flag, or it becomes their frequency. And what happens if the person's lived in that chaos or crisis their entire life, it really becomes something they seek later in life because it feels uncomfortable. They feel vulnerable because it's almost like leaving the tribe. So we have to watch our emotional states, that like the emotional imprints that we took in as children, because what'll happen if you take a child that was like raised in a chaotic and crisis-filled environment, the average person listening today should understand that coffee is the equivalent of the old family tribe, because when you drink caffeine, it sets off the fight or flight system. So it's almost like they'll hug and embrace and take into their being the foods and the substances, and these turn into addictions pretty quick, that reminds them of their old childhood. Now, again, it's not really a complex thing to describe, and it's not that complex to overcome. But if you were like raised in an environment that lacked peace or lacked connection or lacked love, you'll sort of recreate that in your own life over and over again, because it just reminds you of home. It's almost like it is home. It's like bringing the old tribe with you wherever you go so that you feel comfortable. So, and again, the easiest way to get around this or through this or solve this problem is to go into hypnosis and literally convince the subconscious mind that, look, hey, you got to lean into the subconscious mind and say, look, it's okay to be peaceful. We live in a peaceful tribe now. And if you're not peaceful, you don't fit in over here. And so the best way to kind of insert the idea that you actually made a tribal migration or changed villages where you don't really need to fit in with the old village because you got the new village, the easiest way to trick the subconscious that things are different is through the hypnosis or decorating the environment and controlling your own environment, so that the subconscious says, yeah, okay, I can be at peace now because I live in a peaceful tribe. And if I'm not peaceful here, it's dangerous to live. So I'm going to be peaceful to fit in. I hope that makes some sense.
Yes, and I think parents can take that as advice to, hopefully foster that with their children, like a peaceful home with connection and security to set up their children for success in the future. Would that be advice you would give parents?
Yeah, guaranteed, because they're not going to be what we say, they're going to be who we are. Our children will copy, mimic, and emulate what we do, not what we say. So if we're always erratic, drinking wine on a Friday night, going to a job we might not like, starting the day with a cup of coffee, which activates your fight or flight system for 24 hours in a row, that sort of vibration gets into the kid, and then they pursue that as sort of their home base into their adult life. And you can see that's why a lot of people are addicted to drugs and drama and crisis, because they're dragging their old family dwelling, their old family vibration with them, so that they feel like they fit in still.
Nice. So it makes perfect sense, Chris. I'm sorry, Jason. Chris. Jason.
It's okay.
Chris,
people call me Chris all the time because it's Christoff.
So my next question, which is a very basic question for Nancy. So we didn't talk about what hypnotherapy is. So what would you, let's say I'm a new client and I come to you and so what is hypnotherapy? How would you explain that? What happens then?
So I think you can sort of take all the things that I've said so far as the precursor of understanding the subconscious and the downloads and the programs and the apps, and how essentially it leads to who you are today. And so a lot of my clients come in and they don't really have willful control over a lot of their beliefs. They feel blocked. They feel a lot of anxiety, especially now during the COVID situation and everything that's happening in the world. So anxiety, and you know what? Anxiety shows up differently for different people. Anxiety for some people might be a need to compensate by controlling every single detail and seeking perfection. For other people, anxiety is just the blatant panic attacks. For other people, anxiety is anger. And so the point is that people don't feel that they have control over their lives. And what hypnotherapy does is it gives people an alternative. So a lot of the times, by the time they get to me, they've already tried every pharmaceutical and every traditional therapy approach known to man. And I'm not discounting therapy. I'm just saying that it's very hard to work with somebody in a regular traditional therapy setting when you're accessing 5% conscious rational mind and they have all these irrational feelings that are from the subconscious. So there's a disconnect there because you can't talk somebody through anxiety with a rational conversation. You can't tell somebody, don't worry, this is not going to happen. They already logically know this. And if that was all they needed, then they could stop it. So the subconscious runs those programs. And what hypnotherapy does is meditation and a lot of these states of trance recreate theta. And in the state of theta is when you can make change. And having a hypnotherapist there to facilitate and guide the changes makes it a lot easier. Some people are super skilled. They can get into the zone. They go deep in. They're able to facilitate change on their own, and kudos to them. That's like somebody who needs a personal trainer versus somebody who's a beast at the gym by themselves. But a lot of people do need somebody to facilitate and guide that change once they're in that state of trance. So you can look for where these programs originated from. And like Jason said, the subconscious can't tell the difference between imagination and reality. And so when you're in that state of trance and your theta brain wave is on and you're imagining things, by the time you wake up, your subconscious can't tell if that was real or not. And it downloads it as actual events in your life. You can literally rewire your history in these states of meditation. I mean, it's a brilliant world that a lot of people need to get more into, not just hypnotherapy, but understanding trance, meditation, theta, brainwave, rewiring the mind. And it's a game changer because people can literally get up off the chair after one session and be like, oh my God, the emotional impact of that memory no longer affects me. Memory is there, but the charge behind it is no longer there.
Which helps with overcoming past traumas. And Jason, maybe you can speak to that, how to overcome past trauma, because I know you are a recovered drug addict, which is amazing. And if you want to speak more about that, because that's actually one of our branches from LAHC. We have a whole team just focused on substance abuse disorder and prevention, and we have a whole team just that tackles that. So if you want to talk about overcoming past trauma, maybe your personal experience and
yeah, I was addicted to a lot of stuff. I mean, I think the biggest addiction was like cocaine. And then of course but basically whether it was cocaine or alcohol or even steroids or, you know, wrapping my sports cars. I was a successful in a business world, very young. So, you know, when you have these self-abusive habits and you come into money, it gets very dangerous, because you can just, you know, hurt yourself to a greater degree. But so what was the question again? I kind of went off of my own ramble there, but like how to get over past traumas. Well, the addiction there was, it was like I was addicted to being mediocre. I wasn't happy being successful. I didn't feel safe being happy, wealthy, and wise. And so whether I used steroids or alcohol, it was always try to keep myself down. And I was apologizing for being successful. I was apologizing for having extra money. And to get over the emotional traumas, number one, it's good consciously to know what's going on. But the subconscious, the great thing about the subconscious is it kind of gets up every morning with you and brushes itself off and says, well, what do I have to copy today? What do I have to mimic today? That's why hypnotherapy can change it so fast, because it has this innate intelligence. It's smart enough to know that 9 months ago, it wouldn't cue you to wear a mask. because it didn't see it in the environment, but it cues you today to wear a mask so that you fit in and blend in. So the past emotional traumas, the greatest thing I tell my clients is that the subconscious, the part of the brain that controls what direction we're really going to go with our behavior, it wakes up every morning. Sure, it might remember the trauma, but you can change your subconscious sort of perception of what's going on today, like right away. And basically what that really means is the subconscious, I don't want it to sound cold, but the subconscious doesn't care about the past traumas because it's willing to work with you that day to change and modify your behavior if by doing so it satisfies its own function, which is to make you safe inside the environment in which you live. So if you give it the proper stimuli that morning right away and you tell it that it's safer to be happy now because you're in a happy tribe. The most dangerous role to play in a happy tribe is to be depressed. The most dangerous role to play in a thin tribe is to be overweight. The most, you have to just let it know that there's a new tribe to blend into and it's going to change right away. It doesn't care about the past trauma. It might remember it, but it's willing to move with you if you give it the right stimuli. So the hypnotherapy is absolutely amazing to get that instant effect so that people can change right away. So what Nancy's saying, like it's something everybody should do. It's not just a sales pitch, and I'm not even a hypnotherapist. This is a great modality of healing.
And that's why they say it's very important to choose your friends wisely, right? For that reason. And so Nancy, how soon do you see results with patients? Like how long is the therapy? How long does it last? Is it 1 session, 2 sessions, or is it different?
You mean the way that I do it in my personal practice?
Like how long? So if somebody
So
comes
one
in,
of the things that I learned quickly is a lot of other hypnotherapists, they'll do 1 or 2 sessions. They'll go into what's called the inner child session. So basically, if there is some kind of a belief or a trauma in the state of hypnosis, we'll figure out what the root of that is and change the narrative in the subconscious mind, and then they'll send you off. My personal belief is that this has to be a slightly more gradual process because there is some conscious processing happening as well. And so I think it's really important for a hypnotherapist to recognize that it's not just, hey, boom, let's go in and rewire. There's still the 5% that is walking around all day saying, what the hell just happened to me? What does this mean? And so I take people on a journey and I have them on a program. They'll be seeing me, about 10 sessions, 12 sessions, depending on what their goals are, but we determine that at the consultation. And the things that I've learned in doing this for 8 years is that almost every person that comes in with some kind of anxiety, block, depression, honestly, even if they come in for weight loss, they're ending up falling into one of 2 categories, or they're both. They're either people pleasers, which means they sort of take one for the team, they swallow, they go with the flow, they don't want people to be disappointed in them. They're the nice guy, they bend over backwards, they don't know how to say no. And when that happens, you swallow and swallow and swallow until it builds up like a volcano inside of you, and it will erupt as panic, anxiety, depression, health issues, sleep issues, addiction issues, weight issues. So much weight gain comes from swallowing your inner voice. So I have almost all my clients somehow have some undertones of that, but then there's a whole nother chunk of clients that are my control, perfectionist, all or nothing thinkers. And this causes a lot of disharmony in the spirit as well, because there's no fluidity of, okay, I can be perfect at this and crappy at this, and that's okay for now. People like that can't reconcile. And so a lot of them also grow up in super religious homes where there's the duality of heaven and hell and right and wrong and good and bad. And this all or nothing thinking causes a lot of disharmony in the spirit. So when my people come in, I'm not just doing inner child. I'm looking for the underlying layers, programs are running. Once we clear out and detox the emotional stuff, then we go into abundance, building business success, having a better love life. I mean, I don't care what it is, but the stuff has to be removed and gotten out of the way first so that we can, go to that next level of where my clients would want to go.
and I've read some of your reviews on your website, and I read amazing reviews from your clients. So that's awesome. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
You want to open this up to the audience. So if anybody wants to ask questions to either Jason or Nancy, please type them in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and we can unmute you if you'd like to ask through a microphone.
I want to congratulate Jason for overcoming your addiction. That's great, man. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it was more of an addiction to just trying to be safe and being a people pleaser, because everybody, like I was very young and you know, gifted in a couple different ways financially, and the addictions were more of an apology psychologically to being better than most of the people around us. So that's part of the people pleasing personality. I would come in and say, look, I know I'm wealthy, but I'm a drug addict. So if you average it out, I'm sort of just like you, so don't hate me. And so I didn't do the Tom Brady approach where you just walk in and just say, I'm the best guy in the room, and that's just the way it is. And it's very important to have that attitude so you don't fall down one of the other crevasses of the self-sabotage sort of landscape.
Absolutely. Like we have to ditch that fear of being the best version of ourselves. It's like we're always afraid of our potential. So not being afraid of being the best version of you. I am putting some links in the chat to Nancy's website, Jason's website, and then Jason's upcoming live event. He has a live event coming up, Overcoming Self-Sabotage. And that is for anybody, correct, Jason? Because it's online. So.
Yeah, it's for anybody in the world. It's, you mean, I'm sold out for a long time ahead. So I had to put together some sort of mass group meeting so we could address, and it's inexpensive, it's effective, it's quick, and people can understand how their subconscious mind works. And it is natural to be afraid of your best self. And we play some crazy videos and people see how their minds really work. And it's a lot of fun.
Nice, very nice. And Nancy, how long have you been in business as far as like the location you have of Illusion Therapy?
I'm approaching 8 years.
Nice, congratulations, that's great.
Thank you. Yeah.
The last link I'm putting here in the chat is just a survey. If anybody would like to respond to today's discussion, just feedback on the information, and if there's any tips or feedback you'd like to provide, I did just put the survey link in the chat for anybody who would like to fill that out. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I did not see any questions come through in the chat, but we did answer a lot of them through our discussion today. So thank you for joining us. We do have an upcoming discussion coming up next month in October. It will be focused around oral health, dental hygiene. Next month is actually Oral Health Month, and how our diet plays a role in our oral health and how it's all just a holistic approach. So if you'd like to join us next month, you can email me at rsadleme@lahc.org for the Eventbrite link to register for that. You can also follow us on social media. On Facebook, we're at LAHC.mi. We have Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok as well. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much, Nancy and Jason. That was great. Honestly, lots of great information that I personally didn't know. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
It was nice meeting you, Jason.
Nice meeting you, Nancy. Keep up the great work.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Mohammed.
Bye, Jason.